What's going on, everybody? Man, Eric Wilson for the Sports Arena. Yes, live on a Monday night in August. So you know what that means. Football is right around the corner. I know everybody's excited, as am I. So much to talk about. I mean, of course, with the Olympics going on, that is our focus, our main focus. But of course, we have to start talking now that the Hall of Fame game has happened, even though it was suspended between the Houston Texans and, of course, the Chicago Bears. It was one of those things where unfortunately we did not get to see the ending of two future superstars in the making in the NFL, with one Caleb Williams and also one CJ Stroud. Let me get my man in here, the left coast to west coast. He's a Sun Devil, Jerry. Mike Carrots-Nudo is in the building. What's going on, brother? How are you?
Man, just happy you're here. I was starting to think you didn't like me anymore. It's football season. I thought you were going into Eagles mode. Just saying.
As you know, my internet likes to, as soon as I start saying something nice about Dallas, my internet wants to cut out on me to remind me, hey, you're an Eagles fan. Don't start that mess up in here. But anyhow, no, you know what's so crazy, Mike? As everybody knows, you're out there on the West Coast, the left coast out there in Phoenix, and I'm down here in Florida. And again, I want to take a moment really quick, including my man Mike Carrots-Nudo, for reaching out to me just to make sure I was doing okay today with Hurricane Debbie, or Tropical Storm Debbie, coming through the state of Florida. It has been crazy. I want to send a personal shout out to all friends and family out there. Please, everybody, be safe. I know a lot has happened, but if there's one thing I know, everybody is strong enough and will get through it. It has been just one of those things that, we anticipate hurricane season down here. Everybody prepares for it.
Right.
But for the amount of rain that has been just flooded the Sarasota, Bradenton, Palmetto, Venice area, man. If you got family, friends, enemies down here, man, check on them. I've been making calls all day, checking with people just to make sure and see what's going on. Some of the things have been just it's damaging and it's somewhat heartbreaking at times. I know this isn't sports, but it's real life.
Yeah, no, and it's crazy you say, because my dad used to say that too. Like, as much as he likes, I mean, nothing obviously against Florida, but Florida and the Carolinas. I remember we drove. I told you this years ago when we drove. Took my first big road trip when I was a kid. When we drove from Phoenix back to Jersey, but I remember going through like North Carolina, like South Carolina, a teeny bit, but we were in North Carolina, and my dad, I mean, he always liked it, but he's like, people being on the coast, and you say on Florida, he goes like, he goes, I see anybody can see the appeal, but it's like, man, with hurricane season, and like you said, Eric, I mean, you can prepare for it, all you want. He used to kind of say that. One of my uncles would say it too, like, but are you truly ever prepared for it? Like, because to me, and the crazy thing is, like, with watching the Olympics, to tie it in, I mean, man, if with all that, is in Florida and stuff like that, if it would be awesome to have host the Olympics in Florida, but it's just this time of year, to where, like, I mean, any of those coastal places, even, I mean, obviously New Orleans is a smaller scale, but Florida would be, it baffled me. I used to say when I was younger, I'm like, man, I get it. Like, they spread it out. It's every 4 years. Obviously that would be a great summer host. Not not really a winter. You're not getting snow on the mountains up there, huh? No, but no, I mean, all kidding aside, it's one of those things where, like, God, I'm like, man, Florida would be so awesome for the Olympics. Like, if Miami or whatever was the host city, but still things can, are still spread out. Like, you see with everything else. I mean, obviously, the surfing would be right there. Everything would be right there. And it's like, but it's just so tough. And it's so, like I said, I mean, and you said it perfectly. I mean, for people that there, it's like you prepare, and unfortunately it's a part of life. And like you said, not that it makes it, any better because of the flooding. I always just hope, like I said, like every other update, I'm seeing the last few days, and it just gets more and more, whether I'm looking, on my phone, I'm on the computer, I see something pop up, and I'm like, oh man, I got to make sure he's doing good. But I'm like, he's dealing with, all that. But it's crazy because when you see it, it's like, you just, like, again, I just hope, okay, hopefully, like, they're right. When it gets closer to land, it just becomes a tropical storm. Not that that's any better because of the flooding. Well, at least it's a little bit better because the winds aren't as bad. But it's one of those things where, you know, we always kid around about, you know, the heat here. People like, you know, you sacrifice certain things, you know, in the summer here, but to have, you know, pretty much 7.5 months, 7 months of, you know, really non-miserable weather. But it's one of those things where, man, you just, like you said, prayers to everybody out there and, you know, all the updates. But yeah, I mean, like you said, from a sporting standpoint, I was just wondering, like, God, Florida would be such an awesome place for the Olympics. You know, I'm like, if they could have it in that mess they call LA, if they could have it in a mess they call LA, like, why not the beautiful spots in Florida and stuff like that? Like,
Mother Nature just won't allow it because given the time frame, man. But again, you know, we're gonna stick to sports, but I had to take that moment living down here, seeing some of the things that have happened. And again, anybody in this area, if you got friends, families, it doesn't matter. Just check on them, make sure they're doing okay, because just to see some of the footage of the areas that have just been flooded. I mean, you're talking major streets and roadways. Thankfully, the highway is still open. Stores are still open. People are doing as best as possible. I've seen airboats. I've seen drone footage. I mean, it's crazy. And the fact that it's so close. And yes, I mean, this is an every year thing that we have to prepare for. But again, you're never truly prepared. You can only be as prepared as you're going to be and make sure that you have all the necessary pieces in place. But I just wanted to make sure that I said that to everybody here watching tonight here on the Sports Arena. All right, with that being said, let's get to the Olympics. I mean, I know we missed the All-Star weekend, which was a huge thing in Phoenix, and we did talk about it a little bit. It was like probably the first time in 18 years that I actually interviewed Mike Caratanudo, whereas he got to talk to his greatest of all time in the one, Cheryl Miller. Having the opportunity to be a part of that was iconic. And again, a huge thank you to Mike for just being a part of it, and to everybody at the Suns Mercury organization. You know, we talked about the new facility that the Phoenix Mercury have now, their new training workout facility. Right. And
well, Mercury and the Suns, but each
Mercury and the Sun.
Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And now, you know, we just saw right after the unveiling of that facility, the Chicago Sky have come out and said that they will have a brand new facility in 2025, 2026. So it's only a matter of time, you know, because now the Las Vegas Aces have their facility, Phoenix has their facility, and Chicago is next in line. I'm sure the rest, Indiana, Dallas, New York, Seattle, LA, Minnesota, Washington, I'm sure at some point they will all have theirs. But just the evolution, if you will, of the WNBA just over, and again, as I've always said, just take the last 4 years and how it has grown. But Mike, I mean, let's talk about, because if I remember this correctly, and I know Mike Caratanudo like I know Mike Caratanudo, if there is one event that he has a very close eye on with regards to the Olympics, it is soccer, if I'm not mistaken. Mike, that seems to be your forte. So I'm going to defer to you and say, give me your thoughts on Olympic soccer as a whole this year. Not Italy, not USA.
I got settled. Whoa. So this guy, look at this guy, making sure I don't get Italy, USA right away. Fair enough. He knows me well. No, but yeah, I mean, it's been absolutely awesome. I mean, when I look at, you know, and the Olympics is always different for soccer too, Eric, because, you know, sometimes it depends on, you know, I mean, especially in a year like this, like I said, coming off obviously, you know, well, for everybody, but like the, you know, the Euro Cup, and coming off, you know, like CONCACAF, all the stuff here, like Copa America, sorry, it's run by CONCACAF, but Copa America here, you know, and the Euro Cup, like the Olympic teams, it's not just like, oh, it's the U21 team or, you know, the U19 team. Like, it is a mix. And every now and then, like, you'll get players. I mean, obviously, yeah, somebody like, you know, Messi, who just played in that, obviously for Argentina, who still has, you know, teams have young talent. aren't going to play so people see it, but it's like you get a chance to see, and not in all cases. I mean, sometimes like it just depends on, the country, the schedule, stuff like that, where these guys are playing. Again, they're club ball because, again, that is where they're making, not that they're going to the poorhouse, these men and women, but I mean, on the men's side, obviously, that's where they're making their bread, as we say. But I mean, look, I enjoy it. The game today, I mean, the game would have been, I guess, this morning, but between this morning here, but, yesterday evening, if we're talking in France, but the game that France won, I mean, man, Egypt, it was one of those things where I'm just like, damn, like it's like it's 1-1. I'm like, how is this happening? Like, I'm like, seriously, because you look at it and it's like, okay, anybody can, you look play a game and, you're going to get a result. Like we always say, the games aren't played on paper. We talk about in everything who we, think's going to win. And yeah, some teams are, completely loaded. But I mean, they're down, 1-0, and in the 83rd minute at home, which is always cool. The host nation, I guess you can say, it's like, yes, it is a home field, home arena advantage. But man, when they scored in the 83rd minute and tied it up, I was just like, man. But we have seen good soccer. I mean, the U.S. women, hey, I know, yes, the last Olympics, we mentioned that before it started, wasn't as great. Well, again, they played good, but it wasn't the result they wanted. The way they've been playing, like, yeah, I'm a big fan, obviously, of the of what the women have done. But I mean, yeah, you look at it and it's like, holy crap, like it's like, can it just measure up? And then, but that's the thing, when you get like the Olympics paired with, a Euro Cup, a Copa America, and the great things we've just, seen. And then it's like, oh, damn, like, okay. It's like, can it match up? And you see, like, that's where, quite a few of these young stars are like born, and they keep going. But overall, I mean, I know, long story short, too late. I mean, I've been excited with the soccer. I've also been between that, hoops, swimming, not sleeping. If they made that an Olympic sport, Eric, I'd be in contention probably for the. I mean, I'm not there. If I was in Paris, I'd be in contention for the gold. I'm probably not sleeping, but I'm in contention for like silver and bronze right now. Because of the way it's set up with Peacock, you can go back and watch. I mean, Eric, I want to wrap on this because I love like soccer in the U.S. when we get into it more later. But what Katie Ledecky has done, like, disgusting. I mean, Michael Phelps, like what he did, we see it. But in the distance races, and people always say, oh, well, you have to extend it. I'm like, guys, it's not a ridiculous thing. Like, if there was another 100, like if she had to go down and back one more time, she would have lapped the people that are Olympic level swimmers. I don't care what country it is. They're in the finals. And like what Katie Ledecky has done, like, I always said, like, we always joke around, but athletic wise, I'm like, there aren't many sports. Yes, they have a talent in their sport, but overall, like athleticism, what you do probably couldn't match up to swimmers. And like the fact that you're that dominant, and Eric, I'll wrap it on this. Just to think, her first Olympics were when you and I were like excited to be getting our license, thinking, hey, maybe, we'll be playing hoops or playing football. And we're like, oh, I'd like to play soccer at the Olympic level. Her first Olympics were at 15, She's been doing this since she's 15. It only got better. Like the stories like that. And, the other stories you see from, like the different athletes and countries and, the beach volleyball, but like swimming, like that's why I'm glad swimming and track aren't the same week in the same weeks, Eric, because literally, like, you would be talking to a person, because I don't do coffee, but I'd be, about 25, 30, 5-hour energy in. And this is how I'd be doing the show if track. And
my brother, I'm right there with you, because I would be the same thing. It would be just, hey, Mike, just we instead of taking shots, it would be bottles of 5-hour energy. It'd be like, all right, we hitting this one, yep, hitting this one, yep. And yep. I mean, it would be nonstop. So I totally get it. You brought up basketball.
Oh, God.
And
could you imagine if I was going to ask you this, Eric? I want to ask you this because you guys interviewed me. You just said hoops. Could you imagine? And I thought about this, and again, with how the money, had started to grow. But after Sue Bird retired, and we're like, and we were even talking about, I remember even the Queen of Hoop, we were saying, where would, Stewie go? And I said, man, I go, Becky Hammon's coming to Vegas. I go, she is going to end up in Vegas playing next to A'ja Wilson. And I'm going to love my team, but good luck beating that team. I mean, everything we've seen, and again, it is a sick roster. We get it. But, man, the way A'ja Wilson and Stewie play together, and, I mean, I don't know who would be gone off the Aces, but what have you thought? I mean, it's exciting, yes, but just like Stewie's play and just fitting in because everybody's still kind of getting their shots. They're getting theirs.
Mike, here's what I will say to that. And I love, this just shows 18 years of what we do because we understand each other. I'm gonna be a fan here. I'm not gonna be the journalist. I'm gonna be a fan. Dawg, let me tell you this. If Stewie and A'ja were playing on a WNBA team, that would be the most illegal thing the WNBA had ever done. You want to talk about a 2-woman power game? It's unfathomable. The fact that they're on different coasts, when at one time they were in the same, like pretty much time zone. They were in your time zone. They were on the left coast, the west coast. If Stewie and A'ja, Breanna Stewart and A'ja Wilson played on the same WNBA team, it's over. I'm telling you right now. Turn out the lights. It's over because just what they are able to do together is just unbelievable. And then like you said,
and then when Coach Reeve puts Brittany Griner in, and A'ja Wilson's dumping the ball to Griner, and it's like, dude, you gotta be.
Listen, Coach Cheryl Reeves. I've had the pleasure to interview her on several occasions. One of the most down-to-earth, genuine people. She tells it like it is. She don't pull no punches. I mean, Cheryl just Coach Reeves, and I haven't earned the honor of calling her just Cheryl, but Coach Reeves, Mike, she is just no nonsense, and I love it about her. What I'm telling you right now is if she was the coach of Stewie and A'ja, you throw that into the mix. It don't matter. And like you said, there's an all-star list of players from Brittany, from Kalia, and Kelsey, and Jackie. I mean, the list goes on and on and on of just the top players from each team. Sabrina doing her thing out there. And I guess she got a new thing now where she's shushing everybody. That's what she's doing right now. That's Sabrina's new thing, to quiet the crowd. So I expect to see that when the second half of the W starts up here, middle of this month. But man, I said it before they even stepped foot in Paris. There is not another women's Olympic team on the same level. No. And I want to say this really quick, and I know you'll appreciate this when I say this. To all the people out there talking, saying that DT needs to be benched, y'all can kiss my backside on this one. Okay? And it's not being biased because Kalia is there. It's not biased because I'm talking to my man Mike Caratanudo, who's in Phoenix. It's the fact that this woman has done so much for women's basketball on the international level, here in the States, and on the Olympic level, that there are still trolls and haters and people out there. Shut the hell up. DT gonna be DT. Like, just let it go. I cannot just sit there and let that slide by. And then the fact that someone had just the nerve, the audacity to ask her while she's in Paris about retirement. How did you get a credential? Like, come on. You just clickbaiting. And I get so tired of that when it comes to speaking to women in the WNBA. Like, their focus is so, they just automatically just want to go for the negative, I'm like, can we just celebrate and elevate what these women have been doing for the last 28 years?
Yep.
DT has been there for 20 of those years.
Yep.
Come on, man, cut it out. Like, can
and
we
Eric,
stop?
At the top that, you get the scoring, but when she even talked about it when all-star, but she's talked about it, ever since they made the selections. Like it's one of those things where, building chemistry, yeah, but they understand each other. And I mean, just to see the spacing that Coach Reeve, like you're saying, the spacing to get them to, that, and whoever's got the hot hand. And I mean, they'll just chuck it, against Germany. I mean, Germany actually had a pretty good game plan in the first half, and Germany's got some obviously talent too. I mean, there's what, there's 5 WNBA players on that team. So four or five, but, and, it's one of those things where her passing though, like, I mean, there was that outlet to her, and then she just like chucks it down court. I want to say in their second game, like it's nothing, and it flies over to maybe it was Asia Wilson that broke out, but yeah, I mean it got rebounded and thrown to her, and she just like one dribble and just a court awareness experience. Yeah, everything, and I'm totally happy. Again, you mentioned Sabrina, but like for she's had like moments too, and it's like, well, they've all had moments, but like the way she's playing and just like running that offense for Coach Reeve is Kelsey Plum. I think that the U.S. obviously was going to advance anyway. So I mean, you look at but like Taurasi, not playing as much, and it's one of those things where I'm just like, okay, yeah, you can save her. You have this team, and again, with it only being 10 minutes. I mean, well, they always play 10 minutes anyway. I know the men's side, they're saying, yeah, it's only it's only it's 40 minutes, and that's that. But you look at the U.S. I mean, obviously they're 3-0. They got 6 points. They beat Germany, Belgium, and Japan. But you can only, play so many. But the way she's, and then, I'm talking about Kelsey Plum, and then, Drew Lloyd's just kind of out there like, hey, I got the ball, hanging out. Like, let's run the offense. Let's get it going. And I mean, throwing it down low, people say, oh, Brittany Griner, this and that. But it's like, the way she's rolling to the hoop, the way the ball is moving. But yeah, like I said, I'm stoked for Kelsey Plum too, because the whole, she obviously got a gold in the 3-on-3 and the women's 3-on-3. By the way, I mean, got the bronze, and so it's 2, 3-on-3x3, whatever, but 3-on-3 tournaments and in the Olympics, and U.S. women have medaled in both, so that's absolutely awesome. But yeah, for the way Kelsey Plum's doing, and that's just crazy because, like you said, you think about Vegas and Asia Wilson and playing on this team, and yeah, you're going to go back to your teammates who are still obviously very talented, and 3 of them are with you. But man, what it's going to do down the stretchy, that's pretty exciting. That's all I got to say. It is very damn exciting what it could look like. So I'm stoked about that.
And shout out to Nigeria, as they are,
yeah,
they're going to be facing USA on Wednesday. And for them, this is a major thing for them. I mean, and this is their opportunity to, be thrust into the spotlight for the Nigerian women's basketball team. Again, we'll see what happens. But I still say, and partly I'm biased, but partly I just represent our country, but I've looked and seen what they were able to do. And I mean, just going back, and if you take a look at their schedule, I mean, listen, they beat Japan by 26. They beat Belgium by 13. They beat Germany by 19. I mean, it just goes to show what this team is about, and in completing their mission of winning another gold. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Now, flip it over to the men. The men play Brazil tomorrow. And again, the LeBron James of the world, Kevin Durant of the world, Steph Curry's of the world, Jason Tatum's of the world, Joel Embiid's of the world. It's finding that chemistry in a short amount of time, being able to pull it all together after coming off of, for Jason Tatum, coming off of finals. But I will say this, and I'm you'll appreciate this. I think that the one and the only Snoop D-O double G definitely being there just adds a little bit of, I think, fun to what they're doing. Because Snoop being at the Olympics, I saw something the other day. People are trying to say, it's 2024, and the two guys who are basically have taken over the Olympics have been Snoop Dogg and Flavor Flav.
Yeah. Snoop's. I mean, his involved. It's been pretty. I've seen him on with Mike Tirico a few times, and I mean, I know as have you, but yeah, it's he's on the men's team's bus as they're going to a thing, hanging out. Like, yeah, I mean, they've definitely added the hip to Olympic flavor. I will say that much.
Yeah. It's just been so fun to watch and so fun to see. Like, listen, when Leslie Jones was out there the one year and she was there live, she was she was off the chain. I actually caught one of her IG lives when she was at a Sparks game, and she was courtside, and she was IG live for the LA Sparks. I think they were playing Seattle.
Oh, wow.
I think. And it was just, I follow her. So it was just fun to watch because it was just real time. And again, I'd be remiss if we did not talk about arguably the one of the greatest gymnasts ever in the history of the Olympics, and one Miss Simone Biles. Just phenomenal job what her and her entire team, what they've done at this year's Olympics. I know there was more stuff going on today, I believe, with them, if I'm not mistaken. I believe there was maybe beams or the bar or something.
Yeah, I think they're finishing up individual events. Like they did the team, and then she won an all-around gold, and then I think I don't know when they added it or whatever, but it's been a minute. But yeah, and then it's certain. It's just whether you floor, like you said, beam, uneven bars, stuff like that. So to finish up that.
Yeah, and I think they did. And again, congrats to Simone and to the young lady Jordan Childs for taking the silver and the bronze on the women's floor. Young woman by the name of Rebecca Andrade took the gold for the women's floor. So congratulations to her. And that was actually something that was going on today. And then the balance.
Is she from Brazil? Andrade is Brazilian?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
This is like, it's stories like that too. I mean, obviously being here in the U.S., it's funny, Eric. I was talking to one of my friends, and he's like, yeah, it's like I get bummed when they don't win. I'm like, please tell me you're not. And I go, I don't think you are, but like, you're not the person that like, oh, a silver medal or a bronze medal is a terrible thing. Like he's like, no, he goes, you get it. He goes, no, but you just always expect them to win gold. So I'm like bummed if they don't win gold. But yeah, Brazil, that was like when they got the team medal, that was their first one ever, ever in gymnastics.
Yeah.
Like it's the stories like that, you'll see obviously a lot of stuff in track. Well, I love track and field, but the pole vaulter from Sweden that broke the Olympic record or world record. Sorry, he broke the Olympic record, and then he already won the gold, and it took him all three attempts. But on the third attempt, Eric, this is insane when you watch pole vault. Like they make it look easy, but it is crazy. Coming from somebody that skydive, pole vault was one of the things. Like, God, I know this thing's not going to break, but man, I'm like, this is crazy. He pole vaulted 20 feet 6 inches, Eric, world record, like flying like over a bar, and he set the world record. And he already had won gold. U.S. pole vaulter got silver. But yeah, when you see stuff like that, it's like, because I say to him, it's like, yeah, I'm like rooting for the U.S. Like Noah Lyles, 5,000ths of a second because it's your torso that gets, because when people see the photo finish, I know you've seen it. We've all seen it a zillion times. Like you see his, what's his name? Thompson's foot from Jamaica, like his foot, but it's not your foot. It's got to be your torso, which again, having run track, and I've always known that, I never understood that. Like if my if I'm running and my foot goes across as I'm leaning, but somebody's torso hit before mine did, like, and we're right there. Like, I understand people's frustration. If you're from Jamaica, from the U.S., you're ecstatic. And again, I'm not a Noah Lyles hater. I love what the kid's done, and considering that his best event's to 200, like, that's even more exciting. But it's one of those things where when I ran track, and again, obviously I didn't run the 100 at that level, but even with running, like, the 400 hurdles, it's like there's sometimes it's like, are you kidding me? Because you see it and you're like my legs across, like I'm leaning, but my legs already across. Like,
photo finish, my friend. But again, and we got to say,
awesome. I mean, just how much lightning speeds in the world. I mean, yes, he will go down as a world's fastest man. And Eric, I thought of this for us too. Literally, I'm not just saying it because we're on the show. I thought of this like our ad campaign for what was that, for the big guy Thompson from Jamaica. Like, I'm the fastest man in the world by minus 5,000ths of a second, like some cool commercials or something like that. I mean, like, they're all right there, and it's insane. Like, when you see it, and it's like, damn. Yeah. And they're all under 10 seconds. And I mean, it's exciting. Like, it's absolutely awesome. So,
speaking of pole vaulting, I do want to make sure we show love to Sam Kendricks. He took the silver.
Yeah.
Despite he had a bloody punctured hand.
Yep.
Like,
I'm glad you brought that up, because I was about to say that about it, and I saw it. It was insane.
And that's another thing that I think sometimes we I won't say we forget, but we don't put enough emphasis on.
Overlook.
Yeah, thank you. Great word. We overlook that. It's like, this young man represented his country, injured, and was still able to attain a medal. Like, it speaks to the resiliency of all of these Olympians when they go out there and do what they do. And again, no matter what country, of course, yes, we are biased. We want the USA to take everything, but let's keep it a buck here. Like, it doesn't always happen, but let's also not, like you said, if we don't take gold in everything, let's appreciate the fact that we did take a medal, and our medal count still, last time that I checked,
crushing.
Our medal count is still, at the very least, 17 to 20 medals more than second place, which I believe is China. So,
yeah, I think like China had one more.
They might have one more gold.
Yeah, as of right now, the U.S. has 79 leading overall, and China's got 53. France, the home country, has 48. Which again, I am going to be Homer here. Shout out to Forks Up, Leon Marchand, who took 4 golds in the pool and brought helped bring a championship to ASU. So yeah, big shout out to him. But yeah, France has 48. But yeah, gold medal wise, it's actually tied now up to the minute, Eric. So both the U.S. and China have 21 golds. The U.S. has 30 silvers to China's 18, and we have 28 bronzes to China's 14. So yeah, we're tied for most golds, have the most silvers, and have the most bronze. I mean, obviously, people are saying, thanks, Captain Obvious. You say you're a math snob, and if you're going to have the most overall, you're probably having the most of, silvers and bronzes. And yeah, they do. But yeah, that's insane. 79 medals for the U.S. and obviously track coming up, all week long. So that'll be interesting too. But I mean, it's insane. And the fact that the last thing in the pool, I got to get this before we get to football. I'm so stoked because the women's 4x1 relay, and not only do they win it, they set a world record. And they take the last event in the pool, and it gave them one more gold than that kind of rivalry. And they've talked about it all throughout the Olympics with Australia. 8 golds in the pool for the U.S., 7 for Australia. And you do it on a world record. Like, that's awesome. Like, I get geeked out about the Olympics. I mean, I'm stoked for, hey, we not that you and I don't plan ahead, but like I said, the nothing against LA, but the mess that's LA, we need to be there in 2028, man.
Oh, definitely. There's no question about it. It's already marked on the calendar. All right, we're gonna take a quick break. show so much love to the National Scouting Combine because, as I've said, 2025 is huge, and Jimmy is already dropping so much, and there's so much more to come. I'll talk about it briefly, but you're watching the Sports Arena. Your man Mike Tenuto alongside your brother Eric Wilson. Be back in a moment. And welcome back to the Sports Arena with your man Eric Wilson, alongside my brother left coast to west coast Mike Tenuto. And I just want to share this with y'all with regard to the National Scouting Combine 2025. Like, y'all need to see this. Like, this was from the CEO and president Jimmy Kibble talking about it, talking to the draft eligibles. But I love the quote here from the great Vince Lombardi talking about perfection is not attainable, but if we chase perfection, we can catch excellence. Like, I know I talk about it a lot, and, you know, there are those who are continually questioning, why is this so great? And what is it that sets it apart from everything else? Let me just say this, and, you know, I'm not going to go on a rant, even though I haven't done one in a while. It is football season, and I guess maybe I should do one here shortly. But this just gives every athlete an opportunity to be seen, you know, and you can go to this website, nationalscoutingcombine.com, and I'll make sure I post, you know, the website here at the bottom, scrolling across so y'all can see it. But just everything. And again, high school level, college level, professional level, the ability to get real-time results, the ability to get tested, the ability to be able to go to the scouts, go to the coaches, go to the agents, and show what you have done in a very short period of time. I mean, it's just, you know, and some of the names like this young man right here, Devin Adams, defensive lineman from Peru State. This young man got the opportunity. We met with him. I believe Mike, either you or I interviewed him. Maybe it was Megan, but he had a tryout with the New England Patriots. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, just it's amazing. So for anybody who's questioning it, you're lost. And I'm just going to say that because as someone who's been doing it for the last 7 years, and Mike's been with me for the last 3, you really have a true opportunity. And that's why it's so important. It's going to be in Florida this year, which I guess Jimmy felt bad for me coming to Indy all these years. He's like, well, I'll make it up to you. I'll come to Naples. I was like, all right. And a huge shout out to the Great Wolf Lodge for partnering with us, just making the event that much more. But to all the athletes out there, and Mike, forgive me real quick, I just want to say this. To all the athletes out there, let me just say this. If you don't invest in yourself, no one else will. But more importantly, if you don't take up on this opportunity to be a part of something that is going to truly benefit you, and all you're giving is your time and your energy and your talent, you want the visibility, you want to be seen, like, this is the place you need to be. There is no other question. There is no other place. It's the National Scouting Combine in 2025. Just, I got to put that out there.
Well,
man.
why did they? But Eric, to answer your question too, it's like, you know, the UFL. You talk about opportunity, and yeah, there's only, and I've said this to you for years. I mean, even when you first started, you know, going to the National Scouting Combine and covering, you were talking to me about it, like, you got to come, and I'm like, no, it's awesome. It's great because yes, there are only the 300 invites to the NFL Combine. You know, if you just are looking just to play football, and again, a lot of people have gone to that NFL, guys that have gone to NFL Combine have also gone on to play, you know, other sports. You know, for National Scouting Combine, you know, USA Rugby, USA Bobsled, you know, the, you know, WWE. We've talked all about that, but why'd they create the UFL? That's my point. Like, opportunity. And yes, not every single guy's going to get to go, but it gives some players, obviously a lot of players, to play in the UFL another chance. And some it's like are getting tryouts. And like you said, with this, like it's like you said, if you're there and to see like what they do and I mean how it's done, and like you said, I mean from the beginning, like and the more I've gotten to know Jimmy, he's not going to put something together. It's like, oh yeah, let's just we'll get a bunch of stopwatches and average the time. Like it's the details which make any event, as you and I both well know, better. So yeah, it's opportunity. It's awesome, and all I know is I'm getting ready to make sure I have I'm 5 thousandths of a second faster in my 40 than you.
Good luck, brother. Good luck. All right, let's talk a little football here because we are in the month of August. The Hall of Fame game, like I said earlier, to start the show tonight here on the Sports Arena, did in fact happen. And usually around this time we do our early preseason predictions. It's crazy to think that we have truly gone months without football, but in the blink of an eye, it is back. And, on the college level, and we won't get into it, I know you're a little heartbroken because the Pac-12 is no more, but let's focus on the NFL. And here's what I want to know from you, Mike. I want you to give me one team in both conferences that you think people are going to sleep on this year until the halfway point of the season. Give me one from the
because their record's going to prove that you shouldn't have been sleeping on them.
Right.
All right.
Give me one from the AFC first, and then I'll give you mine, and then we'll go to the NFC.
Gonna sleep on. I'm gonna go. Wow, the AFC is tough. I mean, I don't know if you really, I'm gonna say because I think a new coach, and again, it's not a shot as much as they made fun of him, but I'm gonna say I think people are gonna be shocked by the Patriots as much as this pains me. I don't see them, winning the division. But I just think that, they're saying, another, the talk of another, a kind of defensive-minded coach. Yeah, Gerard Mayo, good young coach, and the energy and blah, 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 this and that. You still got to be able to play defense in this game. I mean, it's as frustrated as I get, as you know, because I'm like, well, he breathed on him, but yes, it's a damn penalty. So God forbid, we don't have a big play every 2.7 seconds. But I'm going to say the Patriots. I think that, I think if Gerard Mayo's smart, like I said, I mean, the offensive line I know has questions, but I do think Drake May is the real deal. Now, I'm also not starting Drake May, I think, right away because it'll just get him crushed. And, yeah, I mean, you could do trial by fire, but it's the same thing I've said about, and, I told my mom I'm not picking on you, but it's the same thing, not just but we've said about the Jets, you draft these quarterbacks because you have a high pick, but yet you do nothing. I mean, yeah, okay, maybe you get one offensive line. You do nothing to get depth on your offensive line. So, yes, if your starters do go out, you're scouting, you need to do better. Like, they ruined Sam. I mean, Sam Darnold's been okay, and he's shown flashes when he got away from Jets. Zach Wilson, like I said, do I think – and we talked about this. Maturity-wise, Eric, did Zach Wilson say a lot of the right things at times? No, I think he got tired of, maybe being attacked, and he's like, well – and then it's like, okay, you can get it. And then Aaron Rodgers is there, so Wilson's kind of out of the spotlight. But everybody, Jets fans, are like, oh, he's terrible. He's this and that. Well, aren't you saying your offensive line is completely terrible? Like, they ruined quarterbacks. So, inevitably, yeah, should you have more a little ego, a little confidence? Of course they are. But yeah, I digress. I think I think people are going to actually have to pay attention to the Patriots, starting that second half of the season. Now, again, I'm not going to spoil again as we get, like you said, we got our picks coming, soon before the season. But I just think that, defensively they have enough. Offensively, we'll see. And I think probably Drake May, and Drake May, might be the starter to start the season. But yeah, I mean, you got to answer the offensive line problems. Yes, people say, oh, well, they're running this and that, receivers, but you got to shore up, to me, like the depth. Like, yeah, everybody wants 5, all pro starters, which we know with salary cap in this day and age, you're not going to probably get 5 all pro starters across your line. But the point is building that depth, Eric, because the one thing, look, that, that you've got accustomed to in Philly, and, that I've got accustomed to, we've always gone back and forth. Like when Jerry Jones, lets the scouting department do their job, and they're in the war room, and they've broken down players, and they're going back and forth, and, Jerry has his input. But the Eagles and the Cowboys, and until I would say 2 years, they were injured, but, even the Steelers, I would think, and even the 49ers doing something, but the Eagles and the Cowboys, to me, have always been ahead of the curve on getting depth at the offensive line. We understand why, Lane Johnson is your starter. We also understand he gets banged up. Yeah, Lane Johnson's not there, but, you can shift things around a little bit. You still have a really good line, It's one of those things where the Cowboys and the Eagles have done a good job, and teams that you build that depth. Yes, I understand. When people say Jonathan Ogden, I understand, 6'8", 355, 60 pounds. He isn't dominating out there because that's what Jonathan Ogden did. Right. But you build that depth, and do you need to find those starters for you? People say, well, what about your starter? 100%, like I just said. But if you build that offensive line depth, what's the one thing? Okay, when the Bucks beat the Chiefs, they're like, oh, the Bucks defense. The Chiefs defense didn't play bad. Brady had an okay game, but that offensive line at Kansas City's was. It wasn't just the starters. They were down to guys that were practice squad guys that have some talent, but again, you're getting killed by a defensive line that has just been crushing everybody all year like they did. So
I think definitely, and the ones that stood up. So I completely agree with you on that. But my team in the AFC, and again, I'm looking at their schedule, and we always say styles make fights. I'm gonna tell you right now, I think a lot of people come November are gonna be talking about the Indianapolis Colts.
Okay.
As that team that people kind of slept on. Now, listen, we're not sure how Antonio Richardson is going to fare after this injury. We can hope that he comes back and he has a huge chip on his shoulder because he was just starting to get into his momentum and his rhythm, and then the injury happened and it sidelined him. So I'm very curious. But when I look at this team's schedule, the games that are going to be heavily watched games are being played in Lucas Oil. For example, granted, it's in their division, but right out the gate, you got the Texans at home. Okay? Now, granted, you got to go see them later on in the season, but
right
in the beginning, you got them. Okay? And then, let me see. There was another one I saw. Oh, Buffalo coming to Lucas Oil.
Right.
Detroit coming to Lucas Oil. I'm looking, and then they got some more games in there.
See, I thought, and again, full disclosure to our awesome sports arena audience, I knew we were going to talk football. I didn't realize I was going to get that question. I thought about the Colts too, and like you're saying with Anthony Richardson, comes off, but who does Anthony Richardson get to pick the brain of? Who did they sign as their backup? Mr. Joe Flacco.
Yeah.
So, look, I'm not saying Flacco, could go all 17 and have a run like he did in Cleveland. But, look, the guy, he's great to have there for Anthony Richardson. Yes, their skill sets, obviously, Flacco in his prime can move a little bit, not like Richardson. And Richardson's got, didn't have a small arm, but Richardson's got a pretty big arm from what we saw as well, too, Eric. So, yeah, I can see that. I thought about the Colts, but I'm like, man, with Richard coming back and now Jonathan Taylor, there's no contract thing. You get a happy Jonathan Taylor. That offensive line, speaking of O-lines, I know, here I go again, because people are like, man, he talks about offensive line. Hey, guys, guess what? If you don't have an O-line or D-line in football,
you ain't winning.
Suck. Yeah. Thank you. But that offensive line needs to get back to that nastiness that, they had 2 years ago. And, again, I get it. Teams get banged up. Richardson got, banged up. But to see what he did when he was on the field, Yeah, that draft pick, that's sick. So that's the only, I thought, they're ahead of schedule, but I could see that. I like that pick from you, my friend.
All right, so let's go to the NFC, a conference that we are all too familiar with.
Right.
Mike, who's your sleeper team in the NFC?
My sleeper team, and this is, I think, crazy because I think no matter what happens, but my sleeper team, I'm going to go to that division that we always say is up for grabs, but I'm going to go with the Falcons, kid. Like,
wow,
that's my sleeper team, and no agenda, take a shot at somebody. It's not. I'm going to go with the Falcons because look, last year's draft, but fast forward the season, like drafting Bijan Robinson, like dude's a freaking stud. Like again, yeah, running backs devalued until you see a dude on the field like, oh my god, he's a running, like, oh my god, he can do this. Oh, and he can run between the tackles. Oh, and if we slide him out, yeah, linebackers might catch up to him, but there's that word, might catch up to him. So, like, I love Bijan Robinson. I think, I think Kyle Pitts is going to benefit the most from Kirk Cousins. All joking and kidding aside, you picking on Kirk Cousins. I think somebody like Kyle Pitts, who I think we all, and again, yes, there's always going to be growing pains. I don't care if it's a tight end, wide receiver, like you get, the rookies will have flashes and you'll see it. It might not be for the full season, but like right away. But you have Drake London, who is huge. You have, and it should play into Kyle Pitts. Now you have Bijan Robinson. You have a guy like Kirk Cousins, who, again, they get it, and they draft Michael Penix Jr., which, like I told when we had the show back then, I'm like, phenomenal pick. Just like the Bijan Robinson pick, great. You paid Kirk Cousins. If he's only there for 2 years, you just got your next franchise quarterback, and you build around that. Now, yeah, could they have gone for one of those top linemen? We're talking about the O-line. Yeah, I think Bijan may have probably, went for that, but their offensive line wasn't. I think their offensive line was terrible. I'm not going to go say it was as bad as the Patriots line. The Patriots, like, offensive, like, line ratings, and I hate to go too crazy on those stats because it's like, dude, come on, like, I get it, but when you look at, when you're looking at running efficiency and not even penalties, but like passing it, like they were like 25th and below in a lot of those huge categories and big categories, Eric. So yeah, the next gen one, this, like the other stats, like, okay, great, like that can lead to that, but the Patriots are like 25th and below. Atlanta was kind of like up and down, but when you have, like I said, a Drake London, and then with Bijan Robinson, you get a guy that, yes, I mean, between the tackles is always, falling forward, in my opinion. But then you also have Tyler Algier, who we talked about the year before he got there. He rushed for 1,000 yards. You can have them both on the field at the same time. So, look, as much as you like to pick on Kirk Cousins, and yes, get it done later on and get it done in the playoffs, no one would, I know no one, would disagree with you on that one.
He can't win past 425, Mike.
Well, I mean, maybe Atlanta's got the sprinkle dust. He couldn't do it in Minnesota, but he won a lot, 425 in Washington, or more. He won more, but no. That being said, like, I think it benefits that offense. But yeah, I mean, the line's got to keep him up. But I think Atlanta's could be that surprise, like paying attention to. So, and I'm giving people a tease. I'm not saying by that I expect them to win the division. I'm just saying in November, like you said, people are going to be like, holy shit,
right,
man!
People are going to pay attention. No, yeah. I get it. And it's for that reason that I say this team, I think, is going to be the team that people pay attention to. The one division that for predominantly, I will say most of our life, has been pretty much a foregone conclusion, except within the last couple of years, has been the NFC North. We knew, listen, you had Brett Favre, you had Aaron Rodgers. So there was question marks about Jordan Love. Well, Jared Goff came over from LA, brought Detroit to an NFC championship game. Minnesota had Kirk Cousins, great in the regular season, can't win a postseason game. And if they could, they got trounced. And Chicago was just Chicago. we knew that they were going to be the bottom of the barrel. Well, now it seems as though that tide has turned. I truly think the team that people are going to not be talking about, and they are going to ride under the radar because they are a very young team, is Green Bay. And I say that because the focus is going to be, okay, Detroit has set the expectation because of them finally getting out of the basement. Minnesota has a lot of questions, but they also got a lot of answers. And with Caleb Williams and DJ Moore being the quarterback wide receiver combination now in Chicago, what is the number one draft pick of this year's draft? What is he going to do in a city that now has had 2 starting black quarterbacks in their entire franchise history? Those are going to be the topics of conversation with regard to the NFC North. Well, who's left? Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers.
Jordan Love, who got paid.
Who got paid, but there is also a certain level of, okay, now, young man, what are you going to do? And I think no matter what he does, good, bad, or indifferent, is going to be overshadowed the first 2 months of the year until we hit November and this team has begun to assert themselves and begin to separate themselves or get into the conversation of, hey, this team is, let's just say for argument's sake, 6-3. Let's see where they're at. Are they setting themselves apart? Are they remaining amongst the top teams in the NFL? You know what I mean? I think they're going to be a team that people are going to sleep on for the first half of the season.
See, look, it's funny you say that because I think some are actually torn because they're like, well, Jordan Love, like, I mean, look, even of Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, you look at the last half of the season, and especially, I mean, and granted, the Packers were behind the 8 ball a little bit to the point you just made. I mean, last year was a little bit different team, but when they started running the ball, but the way Jordan Love played, and people say, oh, can he figure it out? Well, I know at least the last 5 weeks, he had the highest QBR of any quarterback in the league. I think it was like 97.5, whatever it was. He was up there,
but people are going to say, was he a one-hit wonder? Was he just a flash in the pan?
Right, he sat on the bench, and I get that. But when you do bring in a guy, and that was another guy I was pissed that doesn't have a star on his helmet. When you bring in Josh Jacobs from the Raiders, who again they paid him, and then I know what's his name, Aaron Jones is now gone, but still you have a horse in Josh Jacobs that can make his life easier. That young receiving core, I mean, they all got on the same. I mean, they were getting on the same page pretty damn quick. And that last half of the season. So yeah, but I think it's interesting you say the Packers because I've heard, like, and me just listening and looking up stuff, and I'm more focused on my beautiful Sun Devils right now. But anyway, but looking at Packers stuff, it's one of those things where I've heard both sides of it, and I see what people are saying. I mean, yeah, like you said, I'm gonna when I hear fans of either team or if they Bears or Lions, if they're Bears fan, a Lions fan, or who am I forgetting in that division? Oh,
the Vikings or Chicago.
Vikings. Yeah, I don't know. I said Bears, Lions, and Vikings. Yeah. When you take that out of it, but it's funny because I think some people are like, I think they might come down to earth because now there's obviously, people see what Jordan Love can do. They're gonna, can they still run the ball? Well, you get a guy like Josh Jacobs who's very hungry and pissed off, and maybe it's that'll leave Vegas and he gets to go to Green Bay of his choosing. So I can see both sides, and that's why I was torn and when I first thought of that, because I was like the first team, literally when you asked me, it kind of popped in my head. But then I thought of, Atlanta. And here's the thing that pains me more. I didn't want to make you fall out of your chair. I wanted to save that. I wanted to save that till the end was, look, it'll depend on how Jayden Daniels can go, but Jayden Daniels has a lot of toys around him in the nation's capital, my friend, which is interesting. A rookie quarterback, is not going to win a Super Bowl. I know is definitely not going to win a Super Bowl. But with Dan Quinn, I mean, look, Dan Quinn got guys in, and whether you say they're older, this and that, like they can obviously still ball. Their defense, like it wouldn't. I don't know if can they put it all together enough to get wins? Obviously, the answer how I feel. I hope not. I think not, but I hope not as a fan of despising that team. But that's an interesting team to me too. But I think the Packers are like a step ahead of that. And to your point, kind of makes it like, because if you're right, if they get off to kind of the same start that they did last year, if they get off to the same start that they did last year, then it's one of those things where people are like, you're right. Oh, well, Jordan Love, now they have, this film. How can he adjust? Blah, 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 all that good stuff. Because you look, they open up against you guys in Green Bay.
No, in Brazil.
In Brazil. Sorry. Yes, that's right. They open up in Brazil. And then they got to come back home, and they take on the Colts. Then they're at the Titans, who, again, new coach. Yeah, Derrick Henry gone. So that'll be interesting to see. I mean, I think people probably, I don't understand. Like I've always told you, and like I've always said a zillion times, but I said it to you the most. Like, yes, I always get, like it was just talking about the offensive line, levels of talent. It's still the NFL. Yes, you can beat on some teams if you're deeper and you have more talent in certain areas. Absolutely. You can beat up on some teams. But to me, it's one of those things where Tennessee is just, it's kind of like, we'll see what happens. And then you have, obviously a division game your first division game is against Minnesota.
Okay,
and then
Mike, don't go on the schedule. Save it. We got time. Trust me.
But
we're going to get to it.
I'm just saying, so they have a chance. I mean, the Brazil game to me is how do the Eagles and both the Packers recover from that? I mean, granted, they're not playing until the next Sunday, but it's like you play on a Friday night, which is weird. Granted, it's the first game of the year, but then you're pretty much, and again, they know they're not going for vacation, but then you pretty much, right after the game, whenever it ends, you're freaking flying back. Like you're not staying an extra day. Like you'll leave whatever time you get out of there, you're like flying back. And it's granted they have till the next Sunday, and yeah, you're not going to have your only bye in week 2. I mean, that would be brutal. But I mean, we'll see how they recover. But yeah, for the Packers, I just think, unfortunately, I think the Eagles are more apt to be like, okay, this is
par for the course.
Yeah, like what they have, but we'll see because the Packers still have questions. Look, I like what they've done defensively, but again, offensive line wise, But yeah, you get somebody like Josh Jacobs that can cover up some, put some blush on the ugliness, I guess.
When we get to the NFC North, it'll be more of an in-depth about it. I just wanted to get your quick thoughts on it, and trust me, when we talk about our division, there are a lot of things I want to say about Washington. Because for the first time in a long time, I could say I have some reservations about playing this team. When they were the bottom of the barrel, they gave both teams, Philadelphia and Dallas, they gave us problems. Now you're actually putting pieces in the right places.
Yep.
It does make them a little more, okay, we're actually going to pay attention to you. We're not just going to overlook you. You're no longer just a 4-13, 3-14 kind of team. We need to be as prepared for you as we do prepare for the other teams in the NFL that we feel are on our level. But we'll save that conversation for another time. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us here tonight on the Sports Arena. Mike here at Tenuto, the left coast to west coast. He's the Sun Devil, Jerry, my brother, ASU, Forks Up, and your man, Eric Wilson. Everybody stay blessed. Again, reach out and hug your loved ones a little tighter tonight. And again, a huge thank you to you, Mike, and to everybody for reaching out, just making sure that myself, my family, and those around me are okay. We are okay. And to everybody, in the 941 area code, Sarasota, Bradenton, Venice, Palmetto, and even those north of us who are dealing with tropical storm, Hurricane Debbie, whatever this Mother Nature travesty is called. Everybody just please stay safe. And for that, we will talk to y'all next week. Stay blessed. Peace. Peace.